In 1953, a 41-year-old grandmother in McKeesport, Pennsylvania started planning Sunday dinner on Tuesday morning, shopping by Wednesday afternoon, and prepping by Saturday night. Today, that same dinner costs $87, and most families do not eat together anymore. Number 14 on this list was the Sunday dish the United States Army taught a generation of veterans to make in 1953. Number 11 cost 25 cents at the butcher and fed 9 people for 2 full days. Number 3 was a Cincinnati grandmother's secret, a Sunday meat dish so cheap that the United States Army rejected it as too poor for soldiers. Their children at the table called it dinner. These 30 Sunday dinners were not just food. They were the family's weekly proof that they were still a family. Hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started. Number 30, bread pudding, Saturday's last loaf reborn. Number 30, bread pudding. A loaf of Wonder Bread that had gone stale by Saturday evening was not thrown away in 1953. It was torn into a baking dish, soaked overnight in milk, and a single beaten egg, dusted with cinnamon, and slid into the oven Sunday morning before church. The $1.25 dessert. Grandma baked it in the oven that was already running for the pot roast. The whole dish cost $1.25. She set it on the windowsill to cool while the family ate dinner, and by the time the dishes were cleared, the smell had filled the kitchen with the warm cinnamon ghost of every Sunday Grandma had ever cooked. Using the milk about to turn. Number 29, rice pudding. The half-gallon of milk in the refrigerator was due to expire by Monday in 1953. Grandma was not going to let it expire, so on Sunday afternoon, she boiled a cup of leftover white rice from Saturday with the entire half-gallon of milk, 2 egg yolks, 3 tablespoons of sugar, and a stick of cinnamon, the Sunday night reward. The mixture simmered for an hour, thickened to a custardy consistency, and was served warm in small bowls after the dishes had been washed. The kids ate it sitting on the stairs leading up to the bedrooms while the radio played the Sunday evening news. The milk did not expire. Nothing in Grandma's kitchen ever expired. When there was no meat at all. Number 28, Welsh rarebit. Some Sunday dinners had no meat. In a working-class Pittsburgh home in 1953, the week between paydays sometimes ran out of butcher money, and Sunday dinner had to come from what was left in the cupboard. What was left was a 1/4 pound of cheddar, a half bottle of beer Grandpa had not finished, and 4 slices of Wonder Bread. The British dinner, Pittsburgh learned. Grandma melted the cheese with the beer and a tablespoon of dry mustard into a yellow sauce. She poured it over toasted Wonder Bread. Welsh rarebit, served on a paper plate at the kitchen table. The kids never knew it was the cheap version of dinner. The British called it dinner. The Pittsburgh kids called it Sunday. The Friday money's gone Sunday. Number 27, spaghetti with brown butter and garlic, the cheapest Sunday dinner Grandma could make in 1953 when the meat budget had run out by Friday. A box of ronzoni spaghetti cost 23 cents. A stick of margarine cost a dime. 3 cloves of garlic from the windowsill basket cost nothing. The dignity in simplicity. Grandma boiled the spaghetti, drained it, browned the margarine in the cast iron skillet, and tossed in 3 cloves of crushed garlic. She poured the brown butter over the noodles, dusted with grated Parmesan from the green can, and called it dinner. The kids ate it like it was a feast. The Italians have a name for this dinner. They call it dignity. The same ham bone, second simmering. Number 26, split pea soup. The ham hock that had simmered in last Sunday's bean soup was not thrown out. Grandma fished it from the pot Monday morning, wrapped it in waxed paper, and put it in the back of the icebox. By the following Sunday, that bone went into a fresh pot, this time with a bag of dried split peas, an onion, and 3 carrots from the cellar. The 7-day economy. The bone gave up its second round of flavor. The peas thickened into a green-gray porridge that filled every bowl Grandma owned. One ham hock, 25 cents at the butcher in 1953. 2 Sunday dinners, 9 people fed. The math has not changed, just the kitchens that knew it. Franks and beans in the oven. Number 25. Hot dog casserole. The Sunday dinner of last resort that did not feel like last resort. A package of Oscar Mayer hot dogs cost 99 cents in 1953. 2 cans of B&M baked beans cost 49 cents. A quarter cup of brown sugar from the canister, a tablespoon of yellow mustard from the jar, and 1 chopped onion from the cellar bin. The Sunday alchemy. Grandma sliced the Franks into rounds, layered them with the beans in a casserole dish, dusted the top with brown sugar, and baked the whole thing for 45 minutes. The smell pulled the kids out of the living room. $1.50 fed 7 people. Nobody knew it was the budget Sunday. The cheap cut Sunday meal. Number 24. Fried bologna sandwich dinner. A pound of Oscar Mayer bologna cost 49 cents in 1953. Grandma cut 4 slits around the edge of each round so the slice would not curl up in the cast iron skillet, and fried the bologna until the edges crisped to a deep brown. The Sunday plate. She served the bologna on toasted Wonder Bread with French's mustard, a slice of dill pickle, and a side of canned green beans heated in the same skillet. The whole dinner cost about 90 cents. Grandma served it with the same pride she would have served a roast. A bologna sandwich was Sunday dinner in a working-class home, and nobody at the table knew the difference. Drippings stretched into dinner. Number 23, sausage gravy and biscuits. The drippings from the breakfast sausage Grandma had cooked Sunday morning were not poured down the sink. They were saved in a tin can on the back of the stove. By Sunday evening, when the family was hungry again and the fridge had nothing left, those drippings became dinner. The half-pound miracle. Grandma whisked flour into the cold sausage drippings until it formed a roux, then poured in cold milk, salt, and pepper. The result was a thick, gray-white gravy that she ladled over fresh-baked biscuits made from leftover biscuit. Half a pound of sausage drippings fed 7 people for the second time in one day. The grease was not waste. It was the second meal of Sunday. When the meat barely went around. Number 22. Hamburger gravy on white bread. A half-pound of ground chuck cost 23 cents in 1953. That was not enough meat to feed 7 people if it was served as patties. So Grandma did what every working-class grandmother in America did. She turned it into gravy, the Sunday stretch. Half a pound of ground chuck, browned in a skillet with a chopped onion. A tablespoon of flour stirred in. 3 cups of milk poured slowly while she whisked. The mixture thickened into a salty brown gravy, thick with crumbles of beef, ladled over toasted Wonder Bread. Each plate held 2 slices of toast and a generous spoonful of beef-flecked gravy. 23 cents of beef became 7 Sunday dinners. The pound of beef that fed 9. Number 21, Sloppy Joe's. A pound of ground beef cost 46 cents in 1953. Grandma stretched it with 1 chopped onion, 1 chopped green pepper, half a cup of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of mustard, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and a tablespoon of Worcestershire. The mixture filled a cast-iron skillet. The Sunday roll. She served the Sloppy Joes on hamburger buns from the bakery shelf at Kroger. 8 buns for 15 cents. The kids ate them with both hands, leaning over the table because the meat sauce dripped through the bread. 1 pound of beef, 1 pound of bread, and a few pantry condiments. 9 people fed. 75 cents total. The Sunday math always worked when Grandma did it. The garden in the casserole dish. Number 20. Stuffed bell peppers. The bell peppers Grandma grew on the south side of the house cost nothing. The half-pound of ground beef was 23 cents. The half-cup of leftover white rice from Saturday was free. The can of Hunt's tomato sauce was 19 cents. The tablespoon of grated Parmesan from the green can was a luxury. The Sunday assembly. Grandma cut the tops off 6 bell peppers, scooped out the seeds, mixed the rice and beef and tomato sauce with a chopped onion, and stuffed the peppers full. She baked them for 90 minutes in a casserole dish until the peppers were tender and the tops had caramelized to a deep red. $1 fed 7 people. The garden paid back what Grandma had grown. The dignity was the gravy. Number 19. Salisbury steak with brown gravy. A half-pound of ground beef in 1953 did not look like much on a plate. Grandma fixed that with breadcrumbs, an egg, a chopped onion, salt, pepper, and a tablespoon of Worcestershire, formed into 4 oval patties, pan-fried until brown. The brown gravy theater. The grandeur came from the gravy. Grandma whisked flour into the pan drippings, poured in beef bouillon and a splash of milk, and produced a glossy brown gravy that she ladled over each patty on a separate plate. The patties looked like restaurant Salisbury steak. The gravy was the dignity. It turned a half-pound of cheap chuck into Sunday dinner. The kids never knew. They thought their grandmother had bought steak. Corned beef, cabbage, potatoes, 1 pot. Number 18. Boiled dinner. The Irish-American Sunday tradition that worked-class American grandmothers from Boston to St. Louis had been making since the 1870s. A 2-pound corned beef brisket cost $1.25 at the Kroger meat counter in 1953. A head of cabbage was 19 cents. A bag of potatoes was 49 cents. 3 carrots from the cellar were free. The Sunday bath. Everything went into 1 large pot of water with a tablespoon of pickling spice and was boiled for 3 hours. The brisket gave up its salt to the cabbage. The cabbage softened into the broth. The potatoes absorbed everything. 1 pot, 3 hours, $2. 9 people fed. The Boston Irish called it Sunday. So did the McKeesport Polish. Quarter can stretch to feed 7. Number 17. Tuna casserole. The lifeline of Catholic Sunday dinners on the weeks Grandpa had not been paid. A can of Star-Kissed tuna cost 23 cents. A half box of Muller's egg noodles cost 15 cents. A can of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup was 18 cents. A handful of crushed potato chips on top was free because the kids had eaten the rest of the bag Friday night. The Sunday verdict. Grandma combined everything in a casserole dish, dotted the top with margarine, and baked for 35 minutes. The crushed chips formed a golden crust. The whole dinner cost less than $1. 7 people ate until their stomachs were tight. The casserole has not changed since 1953. The kitchens that made it have. Last week's leftovers reborn with paprika. Number 16. Goulash. Not the Hungarian kind, the American working-class kind, which was a frying pan of last week's leftover ground beef, last Sunday's macaroni, a can of Hunt's tomato sauce, and 3 tablespoons of cheap McCormick paprika. The Tuesday and Sunday dish. Grandma made goulash on Tuesday from Sunday's leftover beef. Then she made goulash again the next Sunday from Tuesday's leftover macaroni. The dish circled the week. Nothing was ever thrown away. The paprika gave it the depth that hid where the meat had come from. The cheese on top hid where the macaroni had come from. The grandmothers called it goulash. The husbands called it dinner. The children called it Tuesday. And again on Sunday. The awful grandma got cheap. Number 15. Liver and onions. The butcher at the Kroger knew which Sunday Grandma was the one who came in for liver. A pound of beef liver cost 19 cents in 1953, half the price of ground chuck. Most American families had stopped eating it by the late 40s. The poor working-class grandmothers had not. The iron in the skillet ritual. Grandma soaked the liver in milk for 2 hours to draw out the bitterness. She floured it, pan-fried it in bacon drippings with 3 sliced onions caramelized to a deep brown, and served it on Wonder Bread with a side of canned green beans. The meal had more iron in it than a multivitamin. A pound of liver fed 7. Modern doctors are now telling people to eat liver again. Your grandmother knew. The Army recipe Grandma kept. Number 14. Creamed chipped beef on toast, the cliffhanger payoff. The official United States Army recipe, distributed to every veteran's wife in 1946 in a USDA pamphlet titled Recipes for the Homecoming Soldier. Within 5 years, it had become Sunday dinner in 7 million American households. Why the soldiers called it SOS? The soldiers had a less polite name for it. They called it SOS. 3 letters that working-class grandmothers in 1953 would never speak in front of the children. The dish was a salty cream gravy made from chipped dried beef and butter and flour, ladled over toasted Wonder Bread. The cost: a jar of Armour dried chipped beef cost 29 cents, a stick of margarine, a cup of milk, 2 slices of toast per kid. Total Sunday dinner, 43 cents. 8 people fed. The Army taught a generation to make this. The Army never said how poor it was. Rice and meat scrap wrapped tight. Number 13. Stuffed cabbage rolls. The Sunday dinner of every Polish, Hungarian, and Slovak working-class grandmother from Cleveland to Pittsburgh in 1953. A head of cabbage cost 19 cents. A half-pound of ground beef cost 23 cents. Half a cup of leftover rice from Saturday was free. A can of Hunt's tomato sauce was 19 cents. The Sunday roll. Grandma boiled the cabbage head whole until the leaves separated. She mixed the beef with the rice, an onion, and an egg. Each leaf got a heaping spoonful, rolled tight, tucked under, and lined in a baking dish. Tomato sauce poured over the top. Baked for 90 minutes. $1.20 fed 9 people. The grandmothers who made these rolls are mostly gone. The cabbage has not changed. Saturday's leftover beef hidden under mashed potato. Number 12. Shepherd's pie. The most disguised Sunday dinner Grandma could put on the table. A half-pound of leftover ground beef from Saturday's meatloaf was not enough to feed 7 people on its own. So Grandma hid it, the Sunday camouflage. She browned the leftover beef with a chopped onion and a can of mixed peas and carrots, added a tablespoon of flour and a cup of beef broth from a bouillon cube, and poured the whole thing into a casserole dish. Then she covered it completely with 2 cups of mashed potatoes, dotted the top with margarine, and baked for 45 minutes until the potatoes were golden. The kids never saw the beef. They saw a beautiful pile of golden mashed potatoes. They ate every bite. The 25-cent bone that fed 9. Number 11. Bean soup with ham hock, the cliffhanger payoff. A ham hock at the Kroger butcher counter cost 25 cents in 1953. Most middle-class families considered it scrap. They asked the butcher to cut around it and discard it. Grandma asked the butcher to save it for her. The Sunday simmer. She put the hock in a stock pot with a bag of dried navy beans she had soaked since Saturday morning. 3 carrots, 2 onions, 3 stalks of celery, salt, pepper, and a bay leaf from her windowsill jar. The pot simmered for 4 hours on the back burner. By Sunday afternoon, the beans had absorbed every drop of smoke from the bone. 2 Sundays from 1 bone. A 25-cent ham hock fed 9 people for 2 full Sunday dinners. The bean soup this Sunday, the split pea soup the following week. That was Grandma's economy. That is how poor families stayed fed. The plain ground beef Sunday. Number 10. Salisbury steak, the plain version without the brown gravy. The Sunday dinner Grandma made on the weeks she had not had time on Saturday to make a roux. A half-pound of ground chuck, breadcrumbs, an egg, a chopped onion, salt, pepper. Formed into 4 oval patties. pan-fried in margarine for 10 minutes per side. The Sunday plate. Each patty got a side of canned corn, a side of mashed potatoes, and a slice of Wonder Bread. The whole plate cost less than 30 cents per person. 7 people ate dinner. The recipe came from a 1943 Better Homes and Gardens cookbook that Grandma had clipped during the war. She made it every other Sunday for the next 30 years. 2-day-old bread to thicken. Number 9. Beef stew. The Sunday dinner that started Saturday afternoon and was ready Sunday at 1 o'clock. A pound of beef chuck cut into cubes for 46 cents. 2 carrots, 2 potatoes, 2 onions, 3 stalks of celery, all from the cellar bin. A cup of beef bouillon, a bay leaf. The Sunday thickening. Grandma's secret was 2-day-old Wonder Bread, torn into the broth in the last 20 minutes. The bread melted into the stew, thickened it without flour, and gave the broth a silky body. The cubes of beef were tender enough to fall apart with a spoon. $1.50 fed 7 people. The Wonder Bread that would have been thrown out became the silkiness of Sunday dinner. Nothing wasted. Everything counted. Sunday's red sauce simmering since dawn. Number 8. Spaghetti and meatballs. The Italian-American working-class Sunday tradition that had spread far beyond Italian neighborhoods by 1953. The German grandmothers in Pittsburgh made it. The Polish grandmothers in Cleveland made it. The Slovak grandmothers in Youngstown made it. The Sunday simmer. Grandma started the red sauce at dawn. 2 cans of Hunt's tomato sauce, a can of paste, a chopped onion, 3 garlic cloves, oregano from the windowsill jar, and a bay leaf, simmered for 6 hours on the back burner. The meatballs were a half pound of ground beef, stretched with breadcrumbs and a beaten egg, browned in the skillet and dropped into the sauce in the final hour. $1.20. 9 people fed. Sunday afternoon smelled like Naples and McKeesport. 2 grocery cuts, 2 meals. Number 7. Ham loaf. The Sunday dinner Grandma made when there had been a half ham left over from Easter or Christmas in the back of the icebox. She ground the ham herself in the hand-cranked grinder bolted to the kitchen counter, mixed it with ground pork from the butcher, 4 slices of crushed saltines, 2 beaten eggs, a half cup of milk, and a tablespoon of mustard. The Sunday slice. Pressed into a loaf pan, glazed with brown sugar and pineapple juice, baked for 90 minutes. The loaf sliced like meatloaf and tasted like ham. 2 Sunday dinners came from 1 half ham, once as the original ham, once as the ham loaf. Grandma's freezer ran on holiday leftovers. The rind nobody else used. Number 6, macaroni and cheese. The homemade version, not Kraft. A half pound of macaroni cost 15 cents. A quarter pound of grated sharp cheddar cost 49 cents. A cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of margarine, a tablespoon of flour, salt, pepper. The Sunday secret. Grandma's secret was the rind from the cheese block. Most middle-class housewives cut the rind off the cheddar and threw it away. Grandma grated the rind into the cheese sauce. It melted slowly, gave the sauce a deeper, smokier flavor that no recipe book could explain. The kids never knew. $1 fed 7 people. The rind that the supermarket considered waste was the dignity of Grandma's Sunday. Oats and saltines stretched every pound. Number 5. Meatloaf, the most stretched dish in the working-class Sunday repertoire. A pound of ground beef in 1953 was stretched with a cup of oats, 10 crushed saltines, 2 beaten eggs, a chopped onion, a half cup of ketchup, a tablespoon of Worcestershire, and a quarter cup of milk. The result looked like 2 pounds of meat in the loaf pan. The Sunday topping. Grandma topped it with a quarter cup of ketchup mixed with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar and baked for an hour and 15 minutes. The ketchup sugar glaze caramelized to a deep, sticky, sweet and tangy crust. 1 pound of beef, 10 cents of oats, and 7 dinners. The kids licked the glaze off the top of every slice. The bones from last Sunday's bird. Number 4. Chicken and dumplings. The Sunday dinner that started with last Sunday's chicken. The bones from the previous Sunday roast had been simmered into broth on Saturday night and stored in a glass jar in the icebox. By Sunday morning, that broth was the foundation, the Sunday alchemy. Grandma added a ½ pound of fresh chicken thighs from the butcher, 3 carrots, 3 celery stalks, 2 onions, salt, pepper, and a bay leaf. The mixture simmered for 90 minutes. Then she dropped in dumplings made from biscuit, milk, and a pinch of salt, small spoonfuls that puffed up in the broth. The bones from last Sunday became the soul of this Sunday. Grandma's economy ran on bones. The Cincinnati Grandma's Secret. Number 3. Geta, the cliffhanger payoff. The Cincinnati working-class Sunday breakfast and dinner dish that no national cookbook records. The recipe was passed down in whispers from German immigrant grandmothers in the over-the-Rhine neighborhood beginning in 1878. The Pinhead Oats Secret. A ½ pound of pork scraps from the butcher cost 10 cents. Steel-cut pinhead oats, a pound for 19 cents, were simmered for 4 hours with the pork, a chopped onion, salt, pepper, and a bay leaf until the oats had absorbed every drop of fat from the pork. The mixture was poured into a loaf pan and refrigerated overnight to set firm. The Sunday slice. Sunday morning, Grandma sliced the goetta into ½ slabs and pan-fried each in a cast-iron skillet until the edges were a deep brown and the inside was warm and creamy, served with maple syrup or fried with eggs. The Army rejected goetta as too poor for soldiers. The grandmothers of Cincinnati served it on Sunday and called it dinner. 1 bird, 3 meals. Number 2. Sunday chicken, the dish that defined a working-class Sunday in 1953. A whole roasting chicken cost $1.19 at the Kroger meat counter. That was a fifth of Grandma's grocery budget for the week, so Grandma made every part of that bird count for 3 full days. The Sunday rotation. Sunday afternoon. The bird roasted whole with carrots, potatoes, and onions, served with gravy from the drippings. Monday. The leftover meat became chicken salad on Wonder Bread for the kids' lunches. Tuesday. The carcass simmered all day into stock that became Wednesday's chicken and rice soup. The math. $1.19. 27 meals across 3 days for 9 people. Nothing thrown out. The bones gave their stock. The skin gave its fat for next week's biscuits. The kids never knew Sunday's chicken was also Wednesday's soup. The slow-cooked Sunday climax. Number 1. Pot roast. The chuck roast slow-cooked all afternoon until it tenderized to fork pull. The Sunday dinner of the working-class American grandmother. The dish that connects every kitchen, every state, every working-class table from Pittsburgh to Phoenix in the 1950s. The Sunday recipe. A 2-pound chuck roast, the cheapest cut on the butcher's display, cost $1.50 in 1953. Grandma seared it in bacon drippings, added 2 cups of beef broth, 3 carrots, 3 potatoes, 2 onions, a bay leaf, and a teaspoon of salt. The covered pot went into a 250-degree oven at 10 in the morning. By 2 in the afternoon, the kitchen had filled the whole house with the smell of home. Why this is number 1? It is number 1 because it is the meal that every working-class grandchild remembers. The meal that took 4 hours of slow heat to transform the cheapest cut of meat into the most universal Sunday dinner America ever ate. $1.50. 4 hours. 9 people. That was Sunday. When you make a pot roast alone in a quiet kitchen with the children grown, it still works. The chuck roast still tenderizes. The carrots still soften. And somewhere underneath that smell, you remember that for one afternoon a week, Your grandmother believed you were worth 4 hours at the stove. It was the meal that meant someone was keeping the family together. When you make it for yourself, it still means that. The someone is you. That counts. Here is my challenge. Make one of these this Sunday. Just one. The pot roast, the chicken and dumplings, or just the bread pudding from Saturday's last loaf. Does the pot roast get more love than the goetta? Tell me in the comments. If your grandmother still remembers her Sunday table, call her this week. Ask her about her chuck roast. The window is smaller than any of us would like to believe. These were not just dinners. They were the weekly proof that a working-class family was still a family.